Alright, quick and dirty video because this is a really hectic month for me, but here's where to find Dragongate on their April 2025 USA tour. Obviously, cards subject to change, but this is what's scheduled so far. Saturday, April 12th, Portland, Oregon, Prestige Roseland XI, KZ vs Kevin Blackwood. 4-way with Susumu Yokosuka, Ho-Ho Lun, Ishin, and Ethan HD. One of these things is not like the other. The rest of the card is also pretty stacked, and Prestige is one of the indies that really respects Dragongate. Sunday, April 13th, Seattle, Washington, Defy Streets of Rage. Triple Threat Tag, Ishin and Ho-Ho teaming up for some reason, versus C4 versus Midnight Heat. Defy Tag Team Champions Sinner and Saint versus KZ and Susumu Yokosuka. Pretty sure Matt literally booked this one just for me, because he knows I love Dragongate and he knows that I work with Sinner and Saint. The rest of these are all in Las Vegas for Mania Week. Wednesday, April 16th, Dragongate USA, The Rebirth. DG USA has been on hiatus for years, and WWE still owns their old tape library, I think, but apparently not the actual trademarks. Matt Sydal will also be in attendance with a special appearance. I'm not sure if he's wrestling, but maybe someone will challenge him. GM Ryo Saito will also be appearing at this show. I'll run down the full card for this one. Ho-Ho Lun vs Reese Maddox. Not familiar with Maddox, he's pretty new. Ultimo Dragon, La Estrella, and the Ringbreaker El Kukui versus Sovereign. Sovereign is Sinner and Saint, plus another guy from my home promotion, Evan Rivers, who is my boy. Seriously, one of the nicest guys in wrestling. Really happy for my guys getting on this card. Ben K and Hyo versus Willie Mack and Rich Swann versus Alec Price and Jimmy Lloyd. Lloyd is a last-minute replacement for the injured Cole Radrick, and Mack and Swann were original DG USA regulars. KZ versus Marcus Mathers. Mathers is young and talented, and he's wrestled in GCW and ETU. You won't see him there for very long though, because he's an ID guy. Natsuko Tora and Konami versus Azumi and Starlight Kid. I don't even know how this was allowed to happen, but I'm stoked. And since Dragongate is a huge influence on Stardom wrestlers, I'm sure they're pretty stoked too. And finally, a whole-ass Dragongate Trios match with Zebrats versus Paradox as Shun Skywalker, Ishin, and Kota Minoura take on Yamato, Dragon Kid, and Susumu. Thursday, April 17th. Most of this day is just one or two matches in various promotions. At 11 AM there's Defy Living Proof, which has Hyo and Susumu versus Sinner and Saint versus Lycos Jim from the UK indie scene. Utterly surreal that everyone in this match knows who I am for different reasons. Now, if you want to see all of Dragongate, there's a bit of a conflict here unless that match opens the show, because at noon you've got Pandemonium Pro Wrestling, which has KZ versus Cappuccino Jones, and Titan and Ben K versus Barbaro Cavernario and Yamato. At 3 PM is West Coast Pro, KZ, Yamato, and Dragon Kid versus Bandito, Toxin, and Latigo. If you've never seen a West Coast Pro Lucha Trios match, you're in for a treat. At 7 PM you can catch Prestige Wrestling, Nothing to Lose. Really solid card, but the only Dragongate appearance is Zebrats represented by Shun, Ishin, and Minoura versus Arez teaming with Dr. Wagner's kids. Friday, April 18th. The only match during the afternoon is at 1:30 in Texas Wrestling Cartel with Shun, Ishin, and Minoura versus Houston Hendricks and Fly Def. That's because at 8 PM there's Dragongate versus Pro Wrestling Revolution, the Gate of Revolution, although only half the card is actual Dragongate matches. Yamato versus Rich Swann, not sure if this is for the Dreamgate. Shun, Minoura, and Ishin versus Benkei, KZ, and Hyo. Estrella and Viento versus Willie Mack and Mike Sydal versus El Kukui and Oni El Bandito. Ultimo Dragon and Dragon Kid versus Susumu and Ho-Ho. There are also meet and greets for VIP tickets before the DG USA Rebirth show on Wednesday, and if you have WrestleCon tickets, you can also meet Benkei, Hyo, Susumu, and Ryo Saito at the Spark Joshi table on Friday, and KZ, Yamato, Dragon Kid, and Ho-Ho Lun at the same location on Saturday. If you also want to support some of my friends and colleagues too, there's a Dusk Pro show and a WrestleCore show. Both are Vancouver indies that I've worked with before. I guess there's also some event on Saturday and Sunday called WrestleMania or something that, I don't know, sounds fake. Vegas is still up in the air for me, and I'm really kind of winging it with my schedule depending on my health and finances, and whether or not ICE throws me in a gulag for being Canadian. So if I'm going to Vegas too, I'll leave a pinned comment down below. But I will at least be at Prestige and Defy on the 12th and 13th, so if you spot me there, feel free to say hi.